So we're talking about a young lady who came here at the age of 8 months old, who fell in with a bad crowd, stole a car as a juvenile, and now that is basically the basis for her deportation, even though she's now, for several years, ever since then, had no trouble with the law.
None at all.
She's married to a U.S. citizen who is dying of leukemia or dealing with it, having to have very stressful medical procedures, and has a 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old child who's also a U.S. citizen. Is her deportation case unique, or is this happening, you know, commonly, especially here in Southwest Detroit?
Is it common? I mean, a lot of this administration is really bringing out the worst in this country, I think. I mean, it's becoming so intolerant to immigrants, and they're just not looking at them as people. You know, it's really just a number, and you're here illegally, so we have a right to deport you. They don't look at the circumstances of the case, their families, separating families. That does not affect their decisions in any way. Is her case unique? I mean, it's not a case that you encounter every day, but unfortunately, there's a lot of other cases that have the same, you know, that have the same impact.
How much do they, or should they being ICE, consider how her departure is going to impact him? Is that usually something that weighs in heavily in these cases?
Well, obviously with ICE denying the stay, it didn't matter.
Right.
What outweighed his condition more is her criminal record,
Gotcha.
and that outweighed. With the BIA and with immigration judges, it may have a greater impact, but then they still have to. You have to consider the 10 years presence, the good moral character, and the extreme hardship that it could cause to her U.S. citizen spouse and children. But it's not. You look at the totality of the case, not just individual factors. They have to weigh the crimes against the hardship.
I guess what I'm asking is, under the other administration, would she have had a better chance of staying, or is this new crackdown on immigrants making it even more intense that they deport her?
In her case, I don't think so. In her case, no. Like I said, I think it really just comes down to that stay. It probably would have been granted versus now they just were more inclined to say no. But would she have been less deportable back then? No, I don't think so. I mean, her whole case started during the Obama administration. Her asylum was denied during the Obama administration. The appeal was as well. So I don't believe so. I think the only difference is that her stay would have more likely been granted in the previous administration than now. But I mean, she does have that criminal history.
So why shouldn't she be deported?
You know, she came here when she was 8 months old. She fell into a bad crowd. I mean, her mom, I think she was like selling drugs at the time. She was around drugs her entire life. She didn't have a strong support system. It's like, what would you expect her to fall into? Like, what is she going to excel in school and be like this great person like right off the bat without any guidance? I mean, it's like, would we expect that out of another kid in the same circumstances? Probably not. I mean, she had no guidance. She fell into a bad crowd. She was around gang members. She says she grew up around these people. Like, how do you forget your roots? You know, that was all she knew. And I think that's what happens. You know, you just consider yourself American. You don't think about the immigration consequences because you don't consider yourself any differently than anyone else, and things happen.
But then she did turn things around.
She did, yes. I mean, she actually worked for my husband. That's how I met her. I didn't meet her as a client. So she was telling me about her case, and I was a little confused about why she hadn't filed for DACA, which is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. I was very confused by it. And she, you know, she'd say, oh, I didn't qualify. And I'm like, I'm not sure why you wouldn't qualify, because you don't see this girl and think criminal or, you know, anything bad. I mean, she's very smart, she's very strong, she's a very hard worker, very responsible. So you think, why wouldn't you qualify, you know? And then that's when I found out about her history, you know, criminal history.
Furthermore, she shouldn't be removed as far as, you know, the case here because of her son and her.
Oh, and her husband, absolutely. I mean, her son, her son has some medical conditions. I mean, he was born here. She does not want to take him with her. Her husband, she just found out, they found out about 6 months ago that he has leukemia. He's about to have a bone marrow transplant. I mean, how would they expect someone to not want to be there to support their spouse in that?
And legally, is it up to the government to determine whether or not that's a reason to let her stay, or is it your argument that, of course, this is legally a reason for her to be able to stay?
Well, so when we submitted the stay with ICE, it's actually up to ICE. They have discretionary powers to decide, is this enough, or do we need more? They decided that it wasn't enough, that the gang enhancements and her record was it outweighed the negatives in her personal life. So that's what they decided, and that's their discretion to do so. When it comes to the law, we're looking now, when you consider cancellation, you have to consider the 10 years continuous presence, which she can clearly prove. Then you have to look at good moral character, which that's the part where she may or may not win on. And then that comes back to, were they convictions? How far removed from the current time are they? And in actuality, it's only been 5 years between the time that she committed the crimes and now. And when I say crimes, I mean they are considered crimes, but I mean they're not as
juvenile.
Yeah, exactly. And any other types of circumstances, that would be a sealed record. And in immigration, unfortunately, they still count. And that really hurts her. So really it comes down to that. Is she a good person? Does she have good moral character? And that's where that decision is going to fall on.
What's the solution?
A new administration. I mean, unfortunately, it's sad. I mean, really the people I'm seeing being detained would never have been detained before. And it's scary to think that you could be driving to work and you'd be picked up and you have your kids have no idea where you are. No one's there to pick them up from school. It's just scary. But I mean, what can you do? Stop living